Okay, now the next thing I want to do is to add some goals in the game. The point of the game is going to be for the players to collect coins, right? So let's add that into the game. Okay, so go to your player object, and what we want to do is we're going to start a new state machine. So click Add Component, Playmaker, FSM, and this is going to be the component that handles all the data that we're going to have on the player. And primarily it's going to deal with two things. One, how many coins the player has collected, and two, later on we're going to talk about having health points, HP, for the player so the player can take damage. Right? So this state machine is going to handle that. So let's click on Edit. Now we have this new state machine. And let's deal with coins first. Right, so I'm going to add a new integer, coin count. And what we want to do is whenever there's a trigger object, a coin trigger, then we're going to go to add coin state, and then we're going to add we're going to manipulate the integer here. So it's going to start as 0, and every time we collect a coin, we're going to go to that state. I'm going to call this idle. And then I'm adding this one event called collect coin. And that's going to go to add coin, and when that's done, I'm going to go back to idle. Okay, so that's the basic setup for the state machine. Now let me find an image to use for the coin. And I think there's one just here. So there are a couple different ones. There's the gold coin, brown coin, silver coin. I'm going to grab the gold one. Again, drag it into the game. And then put it, I'm just going to put it here so I can test with it. I think it's a little bit small, so I'm again going to change that. Okay, so now we have this coin object in the game. And because we want the player to be able to interact with it, we need to make this into a trigger object. So let's go to Add Component, Physics 2D. Let's do a Circle Collider, since the image is a round coin, and you can see that the collider is way too big, so we're just going to tweak the radius to about there. I think that's good enough. And we're going to check is trigger, so the coin, make sure that we're telling the system this is a trigger object. And finally we're going to give it a tag, and now I already have coin as a tag option. If you don't have that, again, go to add tag, type it in, and then click on the object again and select that tag. Okay, so now we have that. Go back to the player state machine, the data state machine. So you can select the you can switch between the two different state machines here. And what we want to do is we want to do it in the data state machine, and it's a good idea to separate state machines into several different ones for different aspects of the game, right? So if we decided to change how data is structured or how data works, we can still do that without having to mess with the control state machine. In any case, so now we're in the data state machine, and in idle we're going to do trigger. I'm going to find the coin trigger. Right. So trigger 2D event. I think this is good. So on trigger enter 2D, and if that's filtered by the tag coin. right? So as you can see that if I didn't click on this icon, it's going to show none because there is no string variables in this state machine, and it's trying to find all the string variables. But if you click on that, and then it's going to show all the available tags in the game. So let's find coin and send event. Let's go to collect coin. Okay, so we have that set up. And just double check everything. We've got these things all set up. Okay, so I'm going to position this coin a little bit closer down here so it's easier to collect it. Okay, let's just run this and see what happens. Now pay attention to the states here and see if it goes to that coin state. There's an error. Let's see. Let's take a look here. Playmaker Unity 2D. Okay, let's see. I should have that. So I am using an add-on to Playmaker that handles Unity 2D physics, and what that requires is you need to have this prefab called Playmaker Unity 2D in the scene. So just drag that into your scene after you've downloaded the Playmaker Unity 2D package. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, now it's working. Again, let's look at the player data state machine. Okay, you can see that we whenever the player enters this trigger, it goes to that state. Great. Now all we have to do is add 1 to the coin count and then remove the coin. Simple enough. So we're going to do an int add coin count. I'm going to add 1. Once it's finished, we're going to destroy the coin. And here it's asking for a game object, so back here we need to store the collider in a variable. So we're going to do game object. I'm just going to store the collider that we get into contact with into this collider game object variable. So here I can refer to it, and once we destroy that object, we're going to go back to idle. So I'm going to just make the coin count available in the inspector so we can take a look at it. So right now it's 0. When the game first starts, it's still going to be at 0. And now it's at 1 because we've collected that coin. So that's good.